How are you? It's Hayden here, and it's the Man in the Mirror podcast. You're very welcome. Man in the Mirror is a podcast where each week I talk to a male guest and we discuss self-care, self-image. We talk about some of the products on his bathroom shelf for his morning and evening routine, and I find out a little bit more about the man that looks back at him in the mirror. Now, my guest this week is someone that I've wanted to get on the podcast for ages, and I'm so thrilled that we finally got him. It's Geza Schoen, who is the co-founder and perfumer at Escentric Molecules. Now, I'm sure Escentric Molecules is a brand you know. It's been around for 20 years. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary this year. Known early on, I suppose, for the Molecule 01 fragrance, which is still one of their hero products and makes up a big part of their collection, and it now features in the M+ fragrances. Beautiful fragrance, and one that I wear and almost has never gone out of fashion, and now people are using it to layer. It uses the ISO-E super ingredient, which is one aroma chemical, which, as Geza explains in our conversation, does magic things and smells different people. Some people can't smell it at all. We have a really fascinating chat about that. So I think you're going to enjoy it. As always on Man in the Mirror, there are no adverts. You don't get sponsored messages or ads from anything else. The only thing I will say is I have a tipping service, which is at coffee. And anything I get goes towards the running costs of the podcast, the uploads, the editing, things like that. And it's at ko-fi.com/man in the mirror. That's ko-fi.com/man in the mirror. That's it. That's my coffee account where I doff my cap and people give me tips, which is very generous and very kind of them. So yeah, if you enjoy it and you want to tip, that's where you can find that. So look, let's get into this conversation with Geza Schoen, who is the perfumer and co-founder at Escentric Molecules. And he's talking to me, Hayden Williams, on Man in the Mirror. Let's go. It's Man in the Mirror, and I'm here with Geza Schoen, who is the perfumer and co-founder of Escentric Molecules. Good morning, Geza. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's my pleasure. It's really good of you to come on the show. It's 20 years since Escentric Molecules was founded, so I know there's lots going on for the anniversary, which we'll definitely get into. But I wonder, Geza, first of all, I'm always intrigued with founders and perfumers in particular. You know, can you identify a certain moment in your life where fragrance became important? You know, was it always something that you loved, and chemistry and science and the natural world? Was that always something that was instilled in you, maybe from parents or friends?
I think it's various. I think, well, first of all, I remember my parents, they kept telling me after it was clear that I would go into perfumery. They always said like, oh yeah, you always smelled on everything. I think that's probably something we all do as kids who don't have the paradigm, which then later through your socialization and through life is given you like, oh, this smells bad, this smells good. Yeah. And until then, you're like, there's nothing. You're just empty. And
I think you're right. I think we get a bit less curious, don't we? Almost when we're younger, we're putting everything to our nose or in our mouth, which seems like the more natural thing, maybe.
Exactly. So obviously, I was into that like many other kids, I guess. But then also, what was important was the surroundings we had with that little house of my grandparents, my hometown, who had a garden. And they, being refugees, decades ago, would have a garden where they would grow anything which would grow, like from all vegetables, including a huge place for potatoes, which then would be stored in the cellar in the house, and we'd eat of that stuff for months and months. And they had fruit trees and flowers and carrots and zucchini and tomatoes and everything which grows in the garden. And that was a pleasure to experience. And also they had rabbits and chicken running around.
Where was this? Whereabouts in Germany was this, Geza?
Yeah, this is in Kassel, in the center of Germany. Kassel, only known for the Documenta, the art exhibition of contemporary art every 5 years.
Right.
Next year again, actually, can't believe it, every 5 years. So that was my upbringing. And I mean, my parents are from a very liberal background. My dad was working as an art teacher. My mom worked in a kindergarten as a kindergarten teacher. So,
Yeah.
you know.
And did you follow that traditional sort of education path into sort of chemistry and further education? Is that did you have a sort of formal perfume education, if you like?
Not at all. No. I just went to school. I did my A levels. I then did 20 months of civil service, which was something you could apply for if you would write a letter to the council saying you can't kill anyone. They would either allow you or not allow you to look after old people. So they stopped all of that, which is silly. Yeah. But there was nothing which influenced me more than what I kind of organized myself back then. When I was 13, I started collecting perfume samples, and I started writing little postcards to these depots where you could always glean the address of company X, moving out in these magazine sort of sites, right? Like advertising. And I just write some really silly postcards saying, can you send me samples of your fragrances? And they did. So I'd come home from school every day and there would be a couple of packets waiting for me with samples from fragrances. That was fascinating. So my intro into perfumery clearly was that. My parents weren't into fragrances big time. Also, I mean, there was no money for, to be spent on expensive perfume fragrances at the time. So that was the intro. And then there was an iconic moment for me, obviously, when I was 16. I spent the last few days of our summer holidays with a friend of mine at a friend of my dad's in Wiesbaden. And it happened that, like every day, there would be a young woman coming along, picking up parcels from that flat we'd be staying in. So he said to us, look, later at 11, there comes this girl. She wants to pick up packets, which will be delivered for her because she lives on the 5th floor. So she'll come. Comes 11, the doorbell rings. She says, are there any packets for me? We say, yeah, there's 2 for you. So, and she was kind of like in the late 20s. We were 16, 17-year-old boys. Yeah. And she sort of came in and was really interested in sort of what are you doing here, and kept asking us questions until she said, what do you guys want to do in the future? And we said, and she kept asking me questions. And after I'd said, I'd love to become a perfumer. And she said, where do you want to do that? And I said, yeah, there's a small company in Holzminden called Harman & Reimer. And I said to her, why do you keep asking me these questions? It was really getting out of hand, sort of thing.
Was she flirting with you?
Kind of. I guess I was completely oblivious to that at that moment. And then I said, why do you keep asking me this? And she said, my dad is the boss of the company you mentioned.
No.
Yeah. So still, Germany having 80 million people really living there. Well, mind you, it was before the wall.
That's incredible.
It's an incredible coincidence. So I meet this lady. So I said to her, look, I need to talk to you. Can I come up later tonight and we'll have a chat so you can tell me what to do? And she did. And so that was my intro to Harman & Reimer. She said, get to know Mr. Oelkers. He runs the education to become a perfumer. And so I did. So I just started going and visited Harman & Reimer without having a date or any connections. I just showed up.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's sort of a moment of kismet and happenstance. I love it. Because I suppose, it would be fair to say, Geza, that there are countries that have more of a connection to fragrance than Germany, but it wouldn't be the most natural thing. I mean, being a perfumer anyway, we know is such a rarity, but it's not as though Germany has a sort of massive connection with the fragrance industry. It certainly has a connection with science and technology, but not so much fragrance. So finding that woman and finding an inroad into that company was just amazing, wasn't it?
Crazy.
Yeah. So here we are now, and we're talking about 20 years of Escentric Molecules, and obviously in the meantime, you worked as a perfumer for other brands. But I'm really interested in the Escentric Molecules story, and I suppose now we look back and to this ingredient ISO-E Super that you're so well connected with. It seems that the brand and that ingredient is part of the it's part of everything that we know about fragrance. But it wasn't 20 years ago. And I suppose now, again, we think about an industry that's trying to make fragrances more and more complicated. And what you were doing seemed counterintuitive. So I wonder if you could just tell me a little bit about working with that ingredients and what led you to think, this could live on its own and this works as a fragrance as just an individual note, because it's groundbreaking, even though, it's been proven to be the right thing to do. But yeah, I wonder if you could tell me a bit about the beginnings of that.
Sure. I think it all happened when I joined Harman & Reimer in August 1990. And they gave me a little room next to the chief perfumer where they'd stuffed lots of ingredients on the wall. So I had my own shelves with ingredients in that room. Yeah. They gave me a scale so I could sort of get into this whole thing in an autodidactical way.
Yeah.
And they obviously, one of the bottles was Ice Super. So I did smell that at some stage. And I remember where I was sitting in that room on that little table I had. And it was clear that there was so much going on in this one ingredient, unlike anything else I had just smelled or would have smelled then later. And that is the whole thing. I mean, if you smell a lemon oil, you can hold it under your nose and for 1 hour, you can keep, every breath you take is lemon oil. It's just very clear. It comes in, goes out. Icy Super technically is not like that. So yes, you can detect it. It has a smell. It has an olfactoric sensation, if to say there is, which is woody. But then the next second you want to smell it again, you don't get it into your nose because your receptors kind of will be blocked because it's a large molecule. And unlike lemon oil, which goes in and out like this, it kind of sits there. So that is already a frustration, which is unfortunate, but it's not to overcome just because that's just how this molecule reacts. It lasts a long time. It's very radiant. It travels. It's also known as a carrier in perfumery because you can use it in large amounts without, making the fragrance crazy, unlike other ingredients where you have to be way more careful with how much you use. So I then took Icy Super after I clearly saw that this is mesmerizing. It's vibrant. It's moving.
Yeah.
It's unlike the others. It has qualities others ingredients simply don't have. So I took it to my hometown next weekend, gave it to a friend of mine. We went to this bar in our hometown and I said, can you just put a drop here, a drop there? And I just want to see what happens.
See how you get on. Yeah.
Exactly. So we were standing around in this bar on a Friday evening and it really didn't take 10 minutes for this woman who passed us on the way to the toilet. She came back and passed us again and she stood still and said, who smells so nice here? My friend said, obviously, it's probably me, but you need to talk to him, and so I spoke to her. And what came out was so interesting. She said she likes Fahrenheit from Dior and she likes Trésor from Lancôme. And these two fragrances really have nothing in common other than both have a fairly large amount of Icy Super. Trésor 20%, Fahrenheit 25%. And it was fascinating to me to see that probably if she stood still by just being surrounded to one ingredient only, which is Icy Super, and this is enough for her to go and ask us what this is, that's really an attraction. That's almost like animal magnetic, you know?
Yeah.
This is crazy. So I just took that as an empiric sort of acknowledgement, which, that happened. That was cool. That was unexpected. And then, I went back to, I hadn't even started the education. So the education started in January 92. And, we were there to learn how perfumery works in a more classic sense or how you were to construct things within a fragrance. That's what we learned. We didn't, we weren't incentivized to go, can you identify some molecules and put them in the market, please? That was not the case.
So it took a long while before you could actually do something about it. So was it when you left that you thought, I'm going to do something with this chemical?
It could have gone wrong a long time before that, in '94, when we were given the chance to work on the first diesel fragrance, the guy who was the sales guy at the time was Alessandro Gualtieri, who was then later to become Nasomatto's maestro.
Yeah.
I was in good terms with him, and we were friends, and he was living in Italy and would just visit us in Holzminden now and then. And I remember one evening I said to him, look, we're dealing with Diesel here. Diesel is the coolest brand in the world.
Yeah.
They're by far the most outrageous advertising they do and stuff. So let's do something.
At that time, it was everywhere, wasn't it, Diesel?
It was everywhere.
The coolest thing, yeah.
It was one of the first streetwear brands, I guess you would call these days. So,
yeah.
And as they were so cutting edge with everything, I said, come on, just show them ICE Super, because that's really cutting edge. And he said to me, I think that's even a bit too far-fetched for Diesel. So it didn't happen. I was a bit pissed off, but, thinking in hindsight, I think great that this didn't happen. So I just took the idea with me. I never bothered anyone again with that. And we then did it, obviously ourselves, when I had left Harman & Reimer after 12 years. And I went back to London in beginning of 2002.
And do you think there was something about being in London and being somewhere different as well? Did that allow you that clarity to start your own thing? Did you always think you would start with this particular ingredient and this particular perfume with Escentric?
Yeah, it was clear that I basically had the structure for the idea a long time before that in my head, which is, of course, ICE Super on its own in a bottle, down to that famous test I did, by then more than a decade ago.
A long time ago.
And then the other one would be for those who don't or who aren't as daring to wear a single molecule, make it for them in a more, traditional form and shape within the fragrance. Yes, having lots of ICE Super in the fragrance, but have other stuff in it. So Molecular One and Escentric 01 were kind of already there. So I just needed to find the right frame for it, which clearly was, we need to give it some sort of a corporate identity. It needs its own looks. It needs to have its own graphic language. And I couldn't do that. I would have loved to participate in that, but I just didn't have the tools for it. So
this is where Paul White comes in, I guess.
Exactly. This is when Paul White comes in, and
who's the co-founder and the creative director and genius behind the visual language.
Absolutely true. And when that happened, he instantly got the idea. He knew exactly where this was heading. Very soon, we had aligned on a graphic language we used, and that was that. That worked really well.
And for people who don't know Paul's background, he comes from the music industry, and I think, again, probably brings a different aesthetic and some different ideas to perfume. And it's still the case with Escentric Molecules now, just a beautiful visual language. This is we're going to talk about the new Cologne One in a second, but this is the bottle and there's a beautiful slipcase and bottle. It's very well, everything fits together beautifully. It's a simple design, but it just works. And I think Paul brings something unique. And it's the partnership seems like alchemy almost, the two sides of it. And like you say, I guess he understood what you were trying to do, which is so important. And it's served the company and served you both so well over the last 20 years.
Yeah, it was kind of an unplanned accident, if you like, that him and we met. Him, yes, you're right. He started doing record sleeves in his early career. Then was the creative director for Björk for 15 years.
Yeah.
So all the cool stuff we know on video that came out of his head. And it's, of course, in hindsight, it's a very fortunate amalgamation of skills or ideas which came together. And for once, something worked.
Absolutely did. Look, Geza, we're going to talk a little bit more about the brand and Cologne One and the celebrations in a little while. But one thing I always like to ask the guests on Man in the Mirror is just about their morning and evening routines, and whether you're a man that is loyal to certain products. Tell me a bit about what you use, when you get ready or when you go to bed. Are there certain things that you like to use in terms of products?
Yeah, absolutely. I do always shower in the morning. some friends, they have a shower before they go to bed at night, and then they don't shower next morning.
Yeah, I don't really understand that, because then I'm smelling manky again by the morning. But I'm sure whatever works.
Yeah. So I there's several things I use, which is obviously shampoo. Nothing to write home about what sort of shampoo I'm using, standard kind of stuff. But then I use a couple of creams for my face from Biotherm.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
One more for the sort of spring, summer season, and a little bit more of a creamier, heavier one for autumn, winter, when the skin needs it. I have learned once, talking to a dermatologist, who said, it doesn't really matter what sort of you put in your face, but do cream your face.
Yeah.
As in, don't do it. You have to. It's like, we lose
the moisture back. Yeah.
And it's important that you put something on your face, cream. So I do Biotherm, not because I'm really super convinced by their sort of technology, but it's more like I really like these sort of kitsch fragrances they put in, which are so French and so.
What do they smell like?
It's kind of a fougere, sort of fresh, lavender, a bit little sweet even. I mean, stuff I would never touch for myself, but I kind of enjoy that in those products.
Yeah,
it's very French.
And it almost becomes ritualistic, doesn't it? You as you do it every day, you kind of enjoy that moment.
Oh, totally. Listen, after I come out of the shower and, you dry yourself with the towel, and then you can instantly feel that the skin is drying from that water, just from the few minutes you showered. Yeah. So I always put that on. I then use body lotion.
Oh, okay.
Since we've had our own body lotion of all the Escentrics, I'm using 01, 03, and 05. Those are my favorites. And they are more almost like a body cream. So we've made them really thick and not that runny like other body lotions are, where you can clearly see there's just water in them. Yeah. And a bit of emulsifier. So again, I had the chance to talk to the boss of the lab in La Biosthetik, which is a company in Germany. They do hair products, lotions, creams, and sort of beautiful body products. And I said to him, look, let's develop a really good body lotion and let's keep all the shit out we really don't need. And he said, yeah, cool. So let's do that. So the whole formulation, I think, only has 12 or 13 products, which is very short.
Yeah.
And he put only the stuff in which makes sense and left everything out.
And it's really good. And of course, it's another element in the product lineup, which means you've got an opportunity to maybe put 01 on your body wash and body lotion and then spray as well. So it gets the chance to sort of amplify it a bit more and layer.
Absolutely. I mean, some people don't do that.
No.
I have friends, for example, they never creamed their face. But can you tell, now that they're in 60, I mean, their skin looks old and that's crazy. So
yeah. And what about in your hair, Geza? A bit of products?
Yeah. I have a product I use for decades now, which is from a brand called Sebastian, and it's called Hair Clay.
Is that a German brand, Sebastian?
No, I don't think so. I think it's more English or American probably. And it was the first one which sort of offered a kind of more like a dry look, but it would stick a little. And because I was never into gels because they look jelly and wet and stuff. Yeah. And so I use this craft clay, it's called, I think.
Oh, nice. And in terms of fragrance, is it the case most of the time that you have to avoid fragrance because you're evaluating and working on new things? Do you not fragrance before you leave the house if it's a work day?
Never. I mean, from Monday to Friday, it wouldn't occur to me, but neither did it occur to me when I was doing the education. So when you work with fragrance, you can't be wearing a fragrance. I mean, I use deodorant sticks. That's one of the things I forgot to mention. Very important. I have a large collection of deodorant sticks of classics in perfumery, like Anteos or a Cool Water. I have a Fahrenheit. I have others just so that...
So those solid stick ones, yeah?
Yes, exactly. And many of those classic fragrances, they've deleted their deodorant sticks over the years.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, I bought on eBay Italy sort of the last 3 existing Armani Eau pour Homme deodorant sticks I could find for a ridiculous price, like 3 sticks for 160 euros or something. So,
but like at one time, they always used to come with fragrances, didn't they? You'd often get them as a gift with purchase and things like that, which doesn't seem to happen so much anymore.
I know, it was a given. It was part of the ancillary line. And it's. I think it's got to do with, they can't probably make much money with deodorant sticks. So it is as difficult to make as 100 ml unit of the bottle, and probably not much cheaper. But of course, it will have to go for way cheaper than the 100 ml bottle. I guess that's economical reasons here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for talking me through your product lineup. We should talk again. I mentioned and showed the Cologne One, which has just come out. This is the brand new release for Escentric Molecules. Something a little bit different. It's your first, I guess, a new pillar. It's Cologne One. Can you tell me a bit about this and why you've introduced this at the moment? Which I love,
I think,
by the way.
A good fragrance house simply needs to have a cologne at some stage. It's part of the, a variety, a range of products you should be offering for people to choose from. We have Escentric O2, which is a very fresh fragrance and fresh throughout. But I thought there is this one particular freshness I've always loved and adored, and I'm always looking forward to whenever, you're in summer probably, and you're asking for a gin and tonic.
Yeah.
And the gin and tonic is just so simple, yet convincing and aromatic and it's just so lovely.
Yeah, and I think as well, something about gin and tonic, as you say, in the summer, it's a drink that sort of hits the mark, doesn't it? It sort of does something. It quenches the thirst, but it's also got that alcohol too. Yeah, it's something. Yeah, and there's definitely juniper and gin and tonic notes to Cologne One, isn't there?
Absolutely. I tried to capture that freshness as best as I could to have this. I mean, when I think of myself, I would be using a cologne, or people use a cologne. It's nothing more than meant to be smelling fresh.
Yes.
And that's it. You don't want to make sort of a perfumistic statement with a cologne. It's for yourself. The dosages are not that high. It's meant to be fresh and, sort of a Sunday morning kind of ritual.
Part of that smelling clean and fresh. But is there a way to extend that out and bring some sort of depth to it? What's obviously ISO E Super's there in the base. What else is happening in the base there, Geza?
In the base, not much is happening. Just because the cologne for me is all about the top note and the refreshment it brings, and obviously imagining a gin and tonic, so you have tons of juniper berry. I think there's more than 10% of juniper berry oil in the fragrance. That is a lot. It's also problematic because of the terpenes in it. They tend to fall out when you put alcohol and water in it. So you really need to see that this becomes clear, that stuff. And then there is this effervescence next to it of ideally lemon or lime in a gin and tonic with the ice, and then this herb, grapefruity, citrusy, peely freshness you obviously have from ideally the good slap of lemon in the gin and tonic. And that is just something remarkable. And it's not very many other drinks can offer. No,
I think so. And the fragrance is beautiful. I think it's a really great addition to the lineup, as you say. And it feels like a natural fit in the collection, if you understand. I think I really enjoy it. And there's a store coming, Geza. Is there going to be a Escentric Molecules store in Berlin this year?
That's absolutely correct, which is about to open in about, I think, 2 months.
Oh, really?
So like sometime late May or like to mid-June. This is the time frame.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the first flagship store.
Amazing. Has it been a real challenge to sort of put that whole aesthetic into a physical space? I mean, I guess you do it anyway with your partners in other stores, but to have something that's all for you and all for your store, it must be a fantastic thing, but also a bit of a challenge to merchandise it and see how it looks.
all of what you've said is true. It was very challenging. My partner, Paul White, is God, how would you say that? I mean, he is vicious when it comes to bringing out only the top design solutions possible. And whether he will have to fly to China for that, no problem, sort of thing. I would never do that. But he's really into it. He only takes the best solutions for materials, for systems, for technology, for video, for everything you need to have to make it look as flash as possible.
Yeah.
In conjunction with our DNA, obviously.
You mentioned Paul and the fact that you're co-founders. And I always think it's interesting with a perfumer who is also the co-founder of a brand. And it just in terms of it's sort of sense checking the work you do. And often in other companies that there will be a perfumer who then works in collaboration with a founder, and they work together to approve. And perhaps in the end, the founder will have the final say. Having both those roles, I guess, is liberating in some ways because you're along with Paul, the ultimate arbiter. But does that bring some difficulty sometimes in getting other opinions, or how does that work? Being someone that sort of has to come up with the ideas, do it, and then approve it. Is that something that ever crosses your mind?
Not really, as everything we did so far felt kind of natural. So to say, okay, it's very clear we had to start with Molecular One and this particular chemical, and we had to start with Escentric One. We wanted to put out a pair. Then very soon we brought out the next pair until we ended with the fifth pair, so we have 5 molecules and the corresponding eccentric fragrances with it. To understand maybe better needs to be said, the eccentric fragrances for me function as an homage to the molecule, right? Yeah. This is how I would celebrate the molecule in a fragrance. And another perfumer would be doing that completely differently.
Yeah.
But this is, this is like our brand.
It has to be your take on it, yeah.
Absolutely, exactly. It's like my take. I mean, give the microphone to 10 singers of 10 different bands to interpret one song. So you know what to expect. It's going to be different. And we then, it was clear that after Molecular 5, I couldn't really get myself to agree to a 6th, a 7th, or 10th one. Because there isn't. I do not find any other molecules I've encountered as interesting yet complex enough to give them the stage within a bottle and to say, I can really see that people would like this and nothing else. So we're not shitting in front of our own doorstep, obviously. And so we kind of, the series had to stop there. Unless maybe one day a new chemical comes out and I have access to it and I will say, oh God, this really fits into the collection. We then started the M+. Which
great.
Obviously, Molecular One is our top product. And I felt, how about if we give the people who like Molecular One just one more? So keep it simple, but we boast about an ingredient which I have tested together with a big amount of IC Super and said they really amalgamate, they really go together and they are beautiful together. So that's what happened with the first trio we put out with Mandarin, Iris and Patchouli, where all 3 really go together with IC Super so well. And we've just recently launched the 8th M+, which is M+ Champaka.
Yes. Which is gorgeous.
Did you like that?
I really did, that florality that comes. But again, it's not overpowering. It's subtle and, of course, feels very gender-free. I would be just as happy to wear it. But I thought it was beautiful. I think that whole range, it allows other ingredients to join in and have their moment in the sun. I think it's worked. My particular favourites are the M+ tea and the Mandarin. Right. But again, people would be doing that anyway, wouldn't they? If you hadn't provided those products, they would be layering Molecular One with other things, and it seems like it's one of those fragrances that people like to do that with.
Sure, that is anyone can do whatever they like. That's fine.
Crack on.
It's I think I really like the idea that I can decide how much of an excellent natural product can be featured in a product, in a fragrance, without all the stuff around it. So if it says mandarin, I mean, it's not just Icy Super Mandarin. I came up with a mandarin complex where I feel I needed a little more zest. I needed a little bit more long lasting. I wanted to push the fruity note in mandarin. But if you smell it, nothing deflects really from it. It's mandarin, but it's kind of like my masterpiece of how would you dare to have mandarin on your skin and then let it smell sophisticated?
Yeah.
That's kind of what's behind. And like I just explained to someone else, champaka, M plus champaka. So there's so much champaka in it that it's a real struggle to actually have it produced again, because we need so much champaka, real champaka absolute, which only comes out of India, this red magnolia natural.
Wow.
That we need a long time to plan this. So I think we can only do like in a half year's time the next production of M plus champaka, just because
just to wait for the oils.
It's not available. It's so
incredible.
It's a pleasure to play with large amounts of excellent natural product within the framework of a fragrance.
And just going back to how it works with the brand. So you will suggest some of these, so you're suggesting champaka with the M Plus range. Is there almost a kind of democratic team? You know, are there other people within the brand like Paul that you would talk to and sense check some of this stuff? You know, in terms of the fragrance side, I assume there are other people in the company that will give their view as well.
No, I mean, absolutely. I would share anything I have or any suggestions I would come up with. I share with Paul, I share with the others. We smell it together. But of course, you know, being a perfumer, I'm the closest to the ingredients. I'm the closest to the heritage of fragrance. I know how you make a fragrance. I know what happened in other fragrances. So all you can see is the sort of the logical outcome of my history with my understanding and my ideas around how I want people to smell these days in a more simplified, humble, modern way. Let's put it this way.
Well, Geza, the name of the podcast is Man in the Mirror, and I always like to find out what the guest thinks about the man that looks back at him. So maybe when you're getting ready in the morning or in the evening and you take a glance in the bathroom mirror, how do you feel about the person that looks back at you?
I mean, first of all, whatever age you're in, you wouldn't have gotten to that age unless you do. So, it's kind of, I mean, I remember I spoke to my father about that and I said, what do you see these days when you look in the mirror? And he says,
did you?
Yeah. And he said, it's unchanged. As in, I always look at the same person and it always looks the same. And in many ways, it's similar to me. I mean, of course, I look at pictures of myself when I was 19 or 20 and I can see that I look different. But it's because you see yourself every day, it's not that terrible. You're used to that phase and it's you. It would be worse if I were to, if I would have engaged in something really immoral, or if I would have done something really stupid, and I with each look into the face,
drug running and stuff like that,
whatever. But yeah, exactly. So, and I would see myself, and I would remember that I could not take this out and just look at myself how I look like. It's both the external look as well as the internal dealings with yourself.
Yes. Which presupposes then, as you look in the mirror, you're happy with, well, I don't want to answer for you, but your achievements in life and where you are, do you feel content with that?
I think so. I'm sure there are many more people who don't have that, but I think I do. And of course, I've been also very lucky in life. I mean, I stumbled at the right time into the right people in London doing this brand.
You met the girl in the apartment block who knew someone.
Exactly. I mean, so the whole thing is like as if it would have been made up for me. And so I am aware of that. I'm very grateful for all of these things. And I have a healthy daughter. I have a beautiful wife who is very smart and going through the roof with her own handbag brand right now, which is wonderful. And
how old's your daughter, Geza?
She's 9. She'll be 10 in August.
Wow. Amazing.
Yeah, well, I started very late. I was 47 when she was born.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but this is very reassuring in the sense that I didn't know before I had a child. I mean, I saw the kids of my friends and, grew up with them. But to have your own child is something very special.
Yeah. And you're bringing then, I mean, obviously it happens at different stages of people's lives, but you're bringing a different perspective then for a man in his 40s and a bit more maturity, and you know where you are. You've got to certain places in your career. I think often people say, "Oh, you must be tired all the time," but I think there's also maybe it's being a father at a time when you can appreciate it and you're not in that panic to establish a career and you're out all the time. Maybe.
For sure, that's an advantage. I think the disadvantage is that, of course, this will feel physically easier when you're in your 30s or in the beginning of your 40s. I was late.
It's sort of tiring whenever, though, isn't it? I think I'm sure when you've got a bit more energy when you're younger, but I think I was 35 maybe. I still felt tired, doing it. But,
all right. Okay, how old is your kid now then?
So he's nearly 18. So he's just getting to that stage where it's choosing university. So he's doing his final school exams this summer, and then hopefully going to Leeds to study in the autumn. So yeah, big changes in our house because my wife and I just have one son. So he'll be heading off. So yeah, these life.
You will be sobbing when he leaves the house.
I will. Although it's an exciting stage, and I feel like he's ready. I think he needs it, and I think he's ready to get out there and do some stuff outside of our protection. It's the right time.
Exciting.
Yeah, it really is. And finally, Geza, I wonder what are the things that you do outside of work to bring yourself joy and happiness? What I talked about your family already. I'm sure that's a big part of it. But if you get a chance to kind of disconnect from Escentric Molecules and work, Geza, what are the things you do in your free time?
I like football.
Do you?
Believe it or not.
Who's your team?
Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Oh, how are they doing this season?
It's a terrible choice, I can tell you that. These days, are you a Tottenham supporter?
Yeah, well, I'm an Arsenal one, so we love it when Tottenham are hopefully getting relegated, but we're having our own particular struggles right now. But
you're having the usual Arsenal. What happens in spring to Arsenal struggle?
Yeah, they just sort of fall away and turn into serial runners up. But
very exciting to see how they will respond to Atletico, just because Atletico is such a dirty team.
Yeah,
and exciting to see.
I think they're without getting into loads of football chat, the Champions League, they seem to they've saved some of their best football for the Champions League. So I hope they can deliver. But
let's see.
Lots to play for, as they say. Yeah. So you would go to the football. Do you get to go? Do you go?
I just recently, we do have a little old stone house in Mallorca. Very hidden, very difficult to get to. It's off grid. So we just have a key to the door, and
you've not made life easy for yourself now.
It's difficult. It really is. But by being in Mallorca, it happened that I saw Real Mallorca playing Real Madrid over Easter.
Oh wow!
I was in the stadium. It was.
And it's quite cheap, isn't it? Quite cheap to watch football in Spain.
I can tell you, maybe when they play a crap team and there are tickets left, but this ticket was not cheap.
No.
Anyway, I saw them playing Real Madrid and they beat them 2-1.
Didn't they?
It was like sort of an 89th minute goal from this Kosovarian striker, and the whole stadium sort of exploded. And the idiots from Real Madrid, the arrogance, and they were complaining, talking to the ref, and it was spectacular. I loved it.
Absolutely. Great to see that. Yeah. Okay, so thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to spend some time with you and to hear about the 20th anniversary, Cologne One release, and good luck with the store opening, and we hope to see you again in the UK very soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me again.
I've really enjoyed it. Take care.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Geza. I certainly did. I always really like seeing him. He's someone that speaks very openly and frankly and doesn't deal in fluff, which I like. It's great to hear a bit more of the backstory too, and to hear about some of the serendipity and the things that happen that he acknowledges. You know, we all need good fortune and to meet the right people along the way, and he has done that on a number of occasions, whether it was the coincidence of meeting the woman who could help him getting into the fragrance house, or then meeting his co-founder, Paul White. But yeah, I think you'll agree, Escentric Molecules and Paul and Geza and the team have built an amazing brand doing really interesting things. And I really like the fact that they're not afraid to do things a bit differently and to sit in a contrary position to some of the industry, as we discussed. But yeah, the Cologne One is out now. It's the new fragrance, and he also mentioned M+ Champaka, which came out slightly earlier in 2026. And as he mentioned, there's a store coming soon to Berlin, which is great. My thanks again to Geza for his time. Really enjoyed chatting to him. If you want to find out more about the brand, you can do. They're on Instagram at Escentric Molecules, and that's ESCENTRIC _molecules, which is MOLECULES. That's at Escentric Molecules. If you want to find out more about Man in the Mirror, you can do. I'm on Instagram also at Man in the Mirror Pod. I'm also on Instagram as You Smell Great, What Is It? Which is a bit more fragrance forward, I suppose. And I have the same one on TikTok as well. You can find me on YouTube at Man in the Mirror Pod. And this episode, if you're listening on audio, there is a visual version on YouTube. If you're so inclined, if you like to watch us, you can see Geza and I on screen. So yeah, we need to do more visual things, and actually doing them remotely like this allows me to do the screens, which is a bit easier. So just to remind you, it's ko-fi.com/Man in the Mirror if you'd like to tip after listening to the podcast. But all that remains is for me to thank my guest, Geza Schoen, and to thank you, as always, for listening. And I'll see you next time on Man in the Mirror. Until then, take care. Bye.